Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky, and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. Salutations, Skoob believer. Do you have a dream of becoming an entrepreneur, but don't know where to start or even what to do? Where can I gather information quickly about what's in my zone of genius? Don't worry, Skoob believers. I got you covered. Go to tuepodcast.net/AI prompt and check out an amazing set of AI prompts that will give you ideas, information, and articles to help you get across that start line. Once again, go to tuepodcast.net/AI prompt to get you started now. Good luck, Skoob believer. Hello there, Skoob believer. Hey, if you're anything like me, I am just so tired of going from screen to screen to screen, trying to figure out my analytics for all of my social medias and trying to figure out where I can put any and all my energies to get as much reach as I can. Well, I think I've finally found the solution. Elementary analytics. That's right, elementary analytics. Now, at a single press of a button, I can see all my social media analytics from Google to Twitter to Facebook, all my important information all on one screen. All on one screen. Can you believe it? And if you really needed to, you could print charts for any possible meetings you might have. If you want to learn more about this amazing program, go to tuepodcast.net/EA for a 14-day free trial with no credit card needed. That's tuepodcast.net/EA for a 14-day free trial. Try it right now and see what it can do for you. Undiscovered Entrepreneur, episode number 17. In numerology, the number 17 reduces to the number 8. 1 plus 7 equals 8, which is associated with success in business and material aspects of life. Interesting.
Understand your balance, build the schedule as best you can. If you don't have a life partner, somebody that lives with you, find a good friend who can help bring you back to reality if you get too lost in your own world. Because as an entrepreneur, unless you're taking over a business that's established or you have a boatload of money to start with, you're probably starting by yourself.
Welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, the podcast where brand new entrepreneurs come to life and could quite possibly be discovered. Join me, DJ Skoob, and the rest of the Skoob believers as we help these new businesses become a reality. And now, away we go! Hello, Skoob believer, and welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, episode number 17. A great number 17. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe I made it this far. And it's just going to keep going. I hope it just keeps going and going. All right, so the gentleman that we heard at the very beginning here, his name is Trevor. Trevor is the lead facilitator in a company called Common Leaders, LLC, which actually gives a lot of different types of coaching and help for entrepreneurs. And I really thought he would be a great fit for the show because he's kind of doing something that I'd like to be doing too. Before we really get into the show here, I wanted to say something just really quick. Two things, actually. Thing number one, I did change the format of the intro a little bit, and I'd really like to know if that's okay with you, if it sounded good, if it didn't sound good. So if you can go to tuepodcast.net/17 and just give me a quick comment there to let me know if you liked it or if you didn't like it or whatever. You know, this is all about you and your show, and I want to make sure I'm doing it good for you. Another thing I'd like to mention here real quick before getting into the interview is I've noticed that when I put out a show and it gets released, I have 5 people that seem to be right on the money in listening to my show. So those 5 people, if you're listening right now, and if you are the one of the 5 people that download my show really quickly and enjoy my show, I would really like to get in touch with you and talk to you. Please, if you can DM me on my Twitter at DJ Skoob, Skoob 2021 right now. I mean, stop listening and get a hold of me right now. I'd really, really like to talk to you. All right, with that being said, let's listen to Trevor from Common Leaders LLC. Salutations, Skoob Believers, and we are here again with another amazing new entrepreneur. Today we're here with Trevor. Hey, Trevor, welcome to Undiscovered Entrepreneur.
Hey, Jesse, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show. All right, so I have one really kind of important, serious question to ask you. Okay, you ready? All right. Are you a Skoob believer?
I am very much a Skoob believer, Jesse. I am excited to be on the podcast, and I've heard other people who are already Skoob believers, and I'm pumped to be a Skoob believer.
All right. Thank you so much, Trevor. We have a new Skoob believer, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. All right, Trevor. So what I'd like you to do is just tell me a little bit about who you are, how long you've actually had your entrepreneur adventure, and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to keep it as short as possible because, as you noticed in my submission, I sometimes over elaborate. My entrepreneurial journey started when I was probably 11 or 12 years old when I started growing pumpkins on my family farm. I got a part of a row, and my dad said, you can put whatever you want there. So I went through the seed catalog, and white pumpkins, luminas is what they were called, is what stuck out to me. And that year, I think I grew like 20 or 25 white pumpkins, and I sold them to a guy who was going to sell them at his market. And that was really my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And it was cool. It was cool. It was kind of a lonely endeavor. You know, I got to talk to the pumpkins. We got to be friends. I got to watch them grow up and then plow them under and start over again.
So it was like children.
Yeah, exactly. I counted them, you know, from the time they were like bigger than a flower to the time that I picked them. I counted them. It was pretty intense back in the day. And now I find myself 20 years later with an LLC in the state of California, which is not where I grew up. And I registered that LLC in September of last year. So September of 2021 was when I became an official business owner in the expensive state of California. And my business is called Common Leaders, and it has nothing to do with farming.
Oh, well, you know, just because you start with the farming doesn't mean you're going to be farming for the rest of your life about that whole thing. So, yeah. All right. That's a great story. I love the pumpkins. That's
I have it here. True story.
Oh, for those of you who are watching on my YouTube channel, because you can't see it, he has a tattoo of the pumpkin on his right arm there. So.
Yeah, the first tattoo I ever got, and we moved to San Diego about 3 years ago, and it's kind of a rite of passage. It feels like to have a tattoo in San Diego or Portland, Oregon, because everybody's got ink. And I wanted to make sure that I could get something I would never regret. And there are very few things that I could peg that to. So I got what I perceived, my interpretation of a baby pumpkin that had just popped out of the ground with the seed still on top.
Nice. That's cool. All right. So, what actually made you want to start your business? I mean, we heard the pumpkin story and I get that, but I mean, as far as the business right now that you just currently started, what actually made you want to start that?
It was a lot of factors, timing related, that sort of converged all at once. And I mentioned this in my form to you also, that the business started a little bit differently than I had anticipated timing wise, but I was coming off a pretty successful and very fulfilling career as a director of operations. I say career, it was all 3 years and change, at a pediatric therapy company where we did OT, PT, and speech therapy for kids. And I joined when it was a startup, very small, and we were, by most metrics, very successful. I'm very proud of the work we did there and very proud to have worked for the person I worked for. And coming off that, I, for the first time since being a kid, obviously felt confident enough that I could potentially create something that was sustainable and something I could pass on to another entrepreneur in the future. And so I went for it. After being the number 2 at a small company, the idea of going to a bigger fish and being, or a bigger pond and being a small fish was not appealing. And it also wasn't super appealing to go back to the startup world right away because I was a little burned out. So I thought I'd start my own startup so I could at least make my own schedule. And I also think that, and this is kind of a diversion a little bit, but I also think that our country and the environment of business and work right now is really ripe for entrepreneurs. I think there's been a record number of people who have started businesses in the last 2 years during the pandemic. And so you could look at that and say it's saturated. And I say, no, I think it's exciting because the nature of our day-to-day existence is so different than it was 3 years ago that I think it leaves huge, huge opportunities for people who want to try to do things differently. Even the news media, I think, is a huge opportunity right now because nobody trusts them. So, and because there's such a gap in trust, inevitably somebody, and we've seen it, some entities are going to fill those gaps. And so when I started to look at the landscape of the business world, plus where I was at personally, it made sense that something could work. And so I jumped in. I sort of told my wife what my ideas were and my boss, and I had some experience consulting before. So I jumped in.
All right. That's amazing. One thing I want to touch on real quick here is market saturation. You make a great point in that too. Another thing about market saturation that kind of sticks out to me is just because the market may be saturated with one particular type of thing, that's not a bad thing. That's actually, I think that's a really good thing because it's actually working right now. That means it's working for somebody else. The only thing that you need to do is either change it or make it better. And if you can do that, then you definitely have a viable business for yourself.
100% agree. And it's hard sometimes as a business owner to not look at the saturation and feel like either defeated or feel kind of cynical of other people because you're like, oh, they don't have the credentials. They don't have the this or the that. Like, what business do they have being in here? And then to flip the script and say, well, if they can be successful with it, like, first of all, why would I be angry that they could be successful? Like, good for them. But also, like, I think I could work in that space too. And maybe have something. And I agree. I think the saturation, it brings attention to a topic and it gets people excited. So I do think that saturation, while it's going to lead to inevitable pain and failure for some people, because that's what entrepreneurship also is, I also think it doesn't have to be a bad thing. If you're just looking to do the bare minimum, I think it's probably a bad thing for you. But if you're ready to work and do things a little different, then I think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not afraid to niche down in that saturated area, if you niche down to the point where it's not just, for example, the health and wellness, if you're going to do running, well, you can't do just running. You want to do running for people that are over 50. And you don't want to just do running for people over 50. You want to do like running for people over 50 that want to run their first half marathon or something like that. Even though it's a saturated area, if you niche down in that saturated area, you actually can find a place that will work well for you. So,
yeah. Or if you just have like the right branding and right personality to go with what you're doing to set yourself apart. There is a huge push. There's always a huge push, especially by amateur marketers, I think, to niche down as far as you can go, whether it be podcasting or business in general. And it does help to like get started and get a fast start. But I also think you self-limit by over niching. Like with your podcast, this podcast is not overly niche. And therefore, I think it leaves a lot of space for a brand to just do better than others.
And the one thing that you could always bring to the table that nobody else would have is yourself. I mean, me being what I do, and I mean, I basically brand myself with my Scooby Doo laugh and my logo and my tie, and there's not going to be anybody else that could go like I
there
can.
it is.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've been waiting for it.
Oh, thank you. So people get really excited when I do that. I don't know why. Okay, so I know you said you started last September. Since you actually started your business, what are some of the problems or pitfalls that you've come across that kind of stick out in your mind? Because every business and entrepreneur adventure is going to have some sort of pitfalls. What have you come across?
At the risk of getting a lot of sales calls after this, I would say, and there's a lot of different answers I had to this, because I thought through it a bunch, and it's a simple question, but it's also, I think, an important one, both for me from self-reflection, but also for the sake of honesty, for your podcast. And that's sales has been tough for me. And I don't mean sales in generating leads. I mean sales in the sense of moving an individual or an organization from somebody who is interested in what I do to a client has been a difficult challenge, which I suppose I would have anticipated. I did not know the extent that it would bother me. In short, it's been really, really tough for me to say, here's my price, or here's the boundary on our first meeting. Like, I'll talk for an hour and a half on a 30-minute call because I'm so interested in what they're doing and I want to help so much, which is all well and good, but doesn't necessarily serve the business. So that's been the hardest, real true business piece of the puzzle for me.
Yeah, and I could see how that can be a rough time for you too. One thing I'm assuming you know who Pat Flynn is. Do you know who Pat Flynn is?
No, I recognize the name, but
that's okay. So any of my podcasts, anybody's listened to this before, I talk a lot about Pat Flynn and who he is and what he's done. So I would suggest there's a book he's written called Superfans.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually talks about how to, it's like a reverse funnel. I mean, I know what a funnel is, but it's kind of a reverse funnel where you're starting for people from just casual people that happen to stumble across you and working the way up and how to make them become super fans. And when they become super fans, they're basically saying, I'm going to buy anything that you have. And it kind of gives you a step-by-step process how to turn somebody from a casual person or casual customer to a super fan. I would suggest reading that. I think that would do really well for you, how to do that marketing and how to turn those people into super fans.
Yeah, thank you. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a picture of it. So you know what you're looking for. And I do have it. If anybody's listening, I do have it in my resources page on my website at uepodcast.net.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And I've also acknowledged, along with that, like early on, I thought the first hire I would make when I was ready to hire would be a marketing person, because social media is like all the things that it is for me, which is not always the easiest or most fun. And about 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, somewhere in that process of where I was really, really uncomfortable, not even anxious. I was just uncomfortable moving people to that next phase. And I was actively avoiding doing it. I cut it off and I said, as soon as I can, I'm going to structure a sales program and bring on a salesperson, because there's a lot of talk about zone of genius in business books, especially
yes.
over the past few years. Mm-hmm. And my zone of genius is not in sales. My zone of genius is in one-on-ones and with groups. So if I'm going to aspire to build a successful business, I should limit the amount of energy that I'm going to put into trying to be a good salesperson, because it's going to take more energy than it's ever going to get me. Because even if I become a textbook read salesperson, I'm still going to hate it.
Yeah. I could see that too. Because if it's not in that zone of genius, you're not going to be comfortable doing it. It's not going to make you feel as well as if you're actually talking on the one-on-one or group people like that you can do. One person that talks a lot about his zone of genius and how to find it, Cliff Ravenscraft. Cliff Ravenscraft is actually one of my guests. He's been around for a really long time. He was a podcaster for about 20 years, and he moved over to life coach and coaching other people too. But he talks about his zone of genius and where he came across it. And that might be something to look into too for anybody that's interested in finding out what that's about. So, all right. That's fantastic. All right. So, do you have any like influences, or do you have any mentors or anything that kind of gets you to move forward, or kind of anything like that?
Yeah, I have a whole series. I won't list them all, but I
Just give me
actually,
your top three, maybe. I don't know.
I have a lot of inspirations, and I'm very fortunate to have had a lot of good mentors. And I think of myself more of a vessel for all the cool stuff they taught me than that I'm so smart. That's not what it is. But I have had some really good ones. I think the biggest aspirational, I'll give you an aspirational one who I don't personally know, but who sort of opened my eyes to a different way of work. And that's the really stereotypical Elon Musk. I read his book, his biography, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And I was really just blown away at his interest and passion for combining a greater human need with an endeavor where you could make a living. And in his case, a good living. But like, the point is to be, in his case, I think, to become wealthy, but also serve humanity. And if you can, like, that was an appealing, like, you don't have to be evil to also do well. So that was helpful to understand that concept. And then definitely my mom is a huge inspiration.
Oh, yes.
I am very fortunate to have awesome parents, but I will put a big inspiration squarely on my mom's shoulders, because when I started on specifically Common Leaders track, I always keep her in mind, because she took a different track than I did professionally, and it didn't involve a lot of higher education. And I don't think that should exclude people from something like leadership development and having bigger opportunities in the world and having access to great resources. I don't think you should have to go to graduate school to do that. So anytime I consider of whether something could be of value to people or how I'm going to phrase something, I try to keep my mom in mind, because if it doesn't interest my mom or it doesn't make sense to someone like my mom, then I'm not really hitting my initial inspired mission. And then the last person is Corey Rohn, who I worked for at Milestone Pediatric Therapy for 3 years. She was my boss there, and she founded a startup herself about 3.5, 4 years ago. Has been wildly successful. In most metrics, the pandemic has sucked at times for her, and the Great Resignation has been tough on the business. But overall, she has been very, very, very successful, and also in the whole time struggled as much with business issues as she did with how do I balance my time with my family the right way? How do I dedicate time to my kids the right way? How do I make sure when my kids grow up, they'll know who mom is and what she's about? And that was really inspiring to me. That really changed my perspective on what an entrepreneur could look like, because a lot of people who are wildly successful have trash home lives. And that was a big hindrance for me when I ever considered opening a business, because I just didn't want to go down that track. So Corey's been hugely helpful and also a huge support for me. Gave me a big opportunity, and we had a lot of success together. And I'm really grateful.
All right. That's fantastic. Yeah. Elon Musk has been mentioned at least 2 or 3 times in the podcast up to this point. I'm pretty sure that we all kind of understand how that works. One thing I'd like to mention too is you can sell and serve at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not really a bad thing to be a salesperson. Trust me, I was a 16-year car salesman. I've sat on that side of the road before where everybody thinks I'm really bad. But what we really like to do as entrepreneurs is help people with what we know and what we serve with. So it's not a bad thing to be able to sell and serve at the same time. Another thing too is I really like the fact that you use your mom as one of your like mentors and the people that you look up to. And it sounds like she really had a great way to balance family life with everything that she had going on. And one of the things I like to point out when we talk about balance is the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. If anybody reads that book, they kind of understand how we can actually make our business and kind of put things off to other people. That way we can make that balance in our lives. It's a little bit rough at first when I first started out because it's all kind of on you. But once things start growing and going, we can balance things out, delegate things to other people. That way we can have that balance for ourselves. So that's some great stuff.
Do you mind? I like to do this thing if someone calls out their mom on my podcast, and almost everybody does. Funny enough, is I like to give like a little fist bump shout out to Grace, to my mom. She's awesome.
My mom, her name is Patty. This is the first time I'm mentioning my mom. Hi, Mom. Okay, so she's a big inspiration to me too. She's the kind of mom that will she goes skydiving. She has backyard parties. She's done all kinds of great things in her life. There was for a while there, she was holding she had a huge screen in her backyard, and she would play black and white movies. And then she had a friend that had a pipe organ. So they would bring the pipe organ, like a portable pipe organ in, and they would actually play the soundtrack right there on that pipe organ to the black and white movies. Just crazy stuff like that.
That's cool.
So I guess that's where I get a lot of my kind of background, I guess.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you phrase it the right way, almost every single person will cite either a mom or a mom figure.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another person that inspires me a lot is my son. He actually gave it. Here's another thing. He actually gave me the tagline of my show. I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today. He said that when he was 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So now he's 15 now. He's carried that all the way through junior high school, all the way through high school. And he's doing really well with it, using that phrase to kind of push him along to be better. And I do the same thing as well, too. Ever since I heard that, I kind of used that as a motivation. So whenever I talk about a specific person that motivates me, I always mention my son.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's awesome that he's carried it through, too, because 6-year-olds, like kids, they don't have filters. So they say funny, inspirational things accidentally and often, but then to be able to carry, like put that on your back and take it with you is a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, as soon as he said that, I posted it up on his wall. You're right. I put it up on his wall and made a couple of things for him so he wouldn't forget it, because it's like, I know as he gets a little older, he might have forgot about it. But if we keep reminding it, this is something that you said that was very powerful. Always remember that. So,
yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing your mom. So, I know you've said you haven't really been doing this for very long, since last September, but when do you know you've made it? I mean, when you get to that point and you say, God, this is exactly where I wanted to be at this particular time in my life. What does that look like to you?
That's so funny. It's funny because I have yet to meet a small business owner, not a solopreneur, because I think solopreneurs aspire to be by themselves. So that's totally fine. But the average entrepreneur, small business owner changes that goalpost so frequently. For me, I have already hit some of them just by registering a corporation and getting to spend my time how I want it. And of late, having some projects come in has been really good. I'm sorry, my kitties are going to.
That's okay.
Go away, buddy.
That's all right. This is real life, Trevor. It's okay.
When will I know? I think the first milestone to know that I've made it will be hiring another leadership development person for the company, somebody who is doing something similar to what I do or aspire to do, to multiply our efforts. I think that will be, without a doubt, the first mark of success, because that will mean that I've started to scale a little bit.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always good to have those goals. That's why I asked that question, because a lot of people have different ways of measuring their success and where they're going for their future. So some people will say, I don't think I'll ever make it, because if I get to that point, that means the adventure is over and I don't want it to be over. And some people will say, oh, when I get to the big house and I have this and I got that. And it's like, okay, but I like trying to fall like somewhere in between there where, yeah, I have some monetary goals, but I do have goals for my company as well, too, to help other people and just to keep it going. So
I already hit one. I had a guest on the show, and the guest's son texted me that he's a friend of mine, but he texted me that he cried. It was such an impactful episode, and he learned so much about his mom during that episode that he cried. And I won't say his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but that was a pretty big moment for me as a podcast person, but also as a business owner, to have had that much impact on a family was, I'm going to get emotional just saying it, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same way for me too. If I just hear or know that I've impacted one person with my shows or changed their life in some positive kind of way, that makes me feel good. And that's one of the reasons why I do these particular shows, is just to help that one person that's going to listen and know that I've helped that one person. That's definitely a driving force for me. So I don't know if you've come across this or not in your entrepreneur adventure, but if you've ever met someone that wants to do the same type of business as you are, what kind of advice would you give them? What steps would you have them take?
A really, really solid question. If they were trying to get into the exact same, like step into the exact vision that I had, step one is, going backwards, figure out how you're going to sell to people. Get some help. Don't. On one hand, I could say that that's my biggest advice, but that's trash. It's not. It's a good problem to have, to figure out how to do that. So I would say step one is, if you don't know your own boundaries, get a mentor that will help you with knowing your boundaries, because I am in the coaching realm of things. And I've been fortunate to have been a consultant and coach. And one of the biggest ways you can separate yourself from the life coach market, which is flooded right now, is by knowing your boundaries, because a lot of them don't, because they haven't had any technical training. And that's not a knock, it's just fact. So knowing your boundaries and knowing when to say that's outside of my scope, I think you should seek professional help or counseling. Knowing a boundary is really, really important when you are in the advice giving world, for a lot of reasons, mostly ethical reasons. And then the other piece of advice I would say is, first, get more marketing, understand the digital landscape. Everything is digital. If you think you're going to be in person, you are very misguided in 2022. It's all digital. So figure out how to build a digital brand, understand what that means for you, and pursue it and hammer it and get help with it. And then the last piece, of course, and we mentioned it already, is balance. Understand your balance, build the schedule as best you can. If you don't have a life partner, somebody that lives with you, find a good friend who can help bring you back to reality if you get too lost in your own world. Because as an entrepreneur, unless you're taking over a business that's established or you have a boatload of money to start with, you're probably starting by yourself. And that's a very slippery slope to get lost between your ears. So I'm very fortunate to have not just a wife who is very supportive, but also a family who's very supportive and friends. And I think without them, it would be, I know I'm driving them nuts like the first 3 months in business, because they're my primary people to talk to. So I think establishing good network and good connections so that you have an outlet. So not everything is in your head. Because otherwise, first of all, your ideas will be unchecked. So you'll think that you're either really stupid or really brilliant, but you won't have any basis for that evaluation. and also just to make sure that, you're okay and doing okay, have somebody neutral in your life that can help you with that.
All right. That's fantastic. Yeah. Having mentors to kind of point you in a direction, that's a really important to have. So you know you're going down the right path, and they can tell you if you can run something by me. Is this, do you have any experience in this? And they can tell you yes or no and point you in a direction. That's important. Do me a favor, though. Can you explain to me boundaries? Can you get a little more in depth with boundaries and what that pertains to?
Sure. Having worked at a startup prior to this, I was pretty familiar with not having them because I gave a lot of my time to that startup. And here's an example of not having good boundaries, or having boundaries and not sticking to them. Is I worked, we were open Monday through Friday, pretty normal business schedule. We were open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. for quite a while, and eventually until 6:30. And there were a lot of times, a lot of days, and a lot of weeks on end that I would be there around 7 a.m. and leave around 7 p.m. or between 5:30 and 7 p.m. And that sets up for an unbalanced life. There were times when my wife would be home before me, or be home on a Friday. And she would say like, "Hey, I want to start dinner. Are you going to leave soon?" And I would say, yes, I'm going to leave soon. I just have one thing to finish. Well, inevitably that one thing leads you to that 2 or 3 other things that you forgot that you really, really need to finish today. And without her being both compassionate towards what was going on, because she knew what was going on at work, but also forceful about like, this isn't okay. You can get pretty lost in a world of self-importance about the things that you have to finish at work or the things that you have to do for your company are the most important things in the world. And that may or may not be true. I don't want to overly define that for someone else, but you'll definitely wake up someday and wish that you had come home a little earlier from time to time. And with your own business and with a small business in general, whether you work for it or you own it, there is never going to be an end to the work. You never finish the checklist. It is not possible. Like, it just isn't, unless you are a very, very, very process-oriented person and you're so technically trained like an engineer might be, and ending at the end because that's where you define the end.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a decent entrepreneur, you can see the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is ever expanding, and therefore your task list is going to be ever expanding. So setting boundaries and understanding, and at least having a relationship with that word, I think is important, so you can start to set them. I'm really sorry. I might have to go steal that mouse from him. Can you hear that?
No, that's okay. That's okay. Like I said before, this is real life. I don't mind some extra background stuff.
my cat's playing with his mouse because I took his other toys away, but I missed the squeaky mouse.
Yeah, that's all right. A squeaky mouse is okay. All right. We're going to feature that in the show, as a matter of fact. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So
I'm down.
All right. So I always like to ask this question, and it's one of my favorite questions, but I did steal it from another podcast. So sorry, everybody. What is the one question you wish I would have asked you, but I didn't? Because I always miss one really good one. And I always get some people say, I wish he would have asked me this question because I was ready for it. So
I don't know if I want to give you my favorite question, because it's my favorite question to ask in a podcast, but I also think it gets some of the more fun answers. A question I really like to ask, I'm going to say this hesitantly, and it's similar to one you asked before about success. I like to ask people, like, if you host a thing that's around your business, like you have an event that's around your business, what do you hope that someone walks up to you and says at the end of it, to know that you have hit your goals, to know that you hit your vision?
Okay. I like that. Go ahead. Go with that. How would you answer that?
I was really hoping that you were going to answer it.
Oh, no, this is for you, my friend.
Because I haven't thought through an answer, ironically. It's so fun because when you ask the questions, you love the questions, but I don't frequently answer them myself. If I have an event and someone comes up to me afterwards, I think, oh, I know exactly what it would be, how can I join your company? That's like, that to me would mean success. Or how can I build a company like yours? I think that would be the ultimate compliment, because that would have meant that I had an impact on them from a business standpoint and a character standpoint that was something that they wanted to emulate. And I never thought about it before, but I'm pretty sure that would be it. Be like, how can I be like you? Like, that would be crazy. Like, right? I say that weird, but like, I can't imagine somebody say that to me outright. Like the Elon Musk thing. Can you imagine being on the other side of that and being Elon Musk, where so many people want to be like you? It would be embarrassing, but it would also be so fulfilling to know that you had that big of an impact. Wow. I just blew my own mind, man.
That happens sometimes. That's actually why I asked that question, because, it really gets you thinking about, well, what would that one question be? And then how do I answer that question? That's even more thought-provoking than the question, So that's why I like that one. All right. So I would really like to know at this point what goals you have set for yourself for the next 6 months. In 6 months, what I'd like to do is follow up with you and see if you've reached those goals. So in 6 months, what goals do you have set for yourself and your company?
6 months from now puts us in July, August, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close
August. Enough. So it helps me to visualize where I am on a calendar. So it's August here in San Diego. It'll be like the end of tourist season. All the kids will be going back to school. The beaches clear up. The weather hits about 75, 80 degrees. It's super nice here in August. It's always when weddings are, so we have to travel somewhere. So I'm walking along the bay, reflecting on like what I'm about to do today. What will I be hoping for 6 months from now? I hope that I have at least one part-time employee.
Okay.
Realistically, I hope for two. I hope that I have a salesperson and also somebody who helps me with some admin and leadership development, just like a generalist who helps here and there, like maybe 10, 15 hours a week for both. I think that would be amazing. That would mean that I don't have enough time to finish everything my own, and I've recognized it, and I have the capital to hire someone. And that then also I'm helping like scale, which is an important word in small business for me. So I hope I have a couple of part-time employees. I hope that my goal for the year, I forget the exact number, but I want to say it's like around a couple million people. My goal is to have a couple million impressions this year, because that's such a vague word, but I think it helps understand the human impact that you can have with social media. So whether that's likes or comments or followers or listens on my podcast, I hope to have hit, we'll just call it 2 million, because I can't remember the exact number. I think it's attainable, but I think it's going to be hard. So let's say in August, that puts me, I should probably be around like 1.2 or 1.3. Holy crap. That really puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Isn't it though?
Got a long way to go. Yeah. And then lastly, I hope that I've been able to travel somewhere for work at least once, and able to take my wife with me, because she loves to travel. And if there was a way that I could combine the two, then that would be a real sweet spot.
Nice. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a quick follow-up question. What do you need to do to attain where do you need to be to hire two people? I mean, to comfortably say, okay, I'm where I want to be. I want to hire two people. What does that look like to you as far as your company is concerned?
Having enough money to do it. Really, capital is the only thing that prevents me from pulling on a salesperson right now, a part-time salesperson, because I know that with a team, ultimately they'll push me and help define like my challenges a little bit better, and I do really well with that. But I know I struggle getting it over the finish line. So if I had somebody to help me get products over the finish line, products and services over the finish line, I would do it immediately. So specifically, the way I'm hoping to get that capital is I have a couple of projects on tap right now where I'm going to be subcontracted, hopefully, for another company. And if that all goes well, after paying myself back for the expense of the podcast for the past couple months, which gets expensive depending on your approach.
Yes, it does.
After paying myself back a little bit for those already expenditures, I will bring somebody on as soon as I can justify doing it.
All right. If you had your choice of where in the world to conduct a business, to bring your wife with you, where would you go? Would you go to France, Italy, Scotland, or oh boy.
Oh man, she's going to hate me for this. She's going to hate me for this so much. If I had in terms of a 6-month goal, like really, I hope that I can have an opportunity to travel for work and work somewhere in upstate New York where I grew up, because then I would get a chance to go visit my family who I miss and I love very much.
Oh, yeah.
And so I could combine all the worlds. If it was only for her, it would be Hawaii. She really wants to go to Hawaii. So someday it would be great, but I think that's a better year, like by the end of the year or into like a year from now, that would be an attainable goal. But if I could have a project in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, like those areas, that would be a home run for me, because then I could have an excuse and have a little financial buffer and reason to go there more often.
All right.
While still coming back to palm trees.
Oh, palm trees. You can't forget the palm trees.
Yeah.
All right. So in 6 months, I'm going to give you another follow-up interview here, and we'll see what goals you've attained and see if you've hit those. I'm looking for 2 new employees. I'm going to say 2. I want 2 new employees from you. Okay. And I'm not going to hold you to the trip thing, because we never really know where we're going to end up anyway. But definitely want to have 2 new employees, and we'll see where you're at in 6 months. So at this point, what I'd like you to do is tell me about everything you're in. Like you said, you're doing a podcast. So tell me a little bit about your podcast and what that's about, and tell me about your business and how we can get a hold of your services. This is your time to shine here, okay, Trevor?
This has been really fun, and I really have enjoyed the questions and dialogue. So I appreciate that. Now I have to shift gears a little bit,
right?
So my business, as I mentioned, is called Common Leaders. I will also be registering a new business in the next few weeks because that costs money too. I'm going to register another DBA called Numospect. Don't steal my name. I own the domain, so don't bother. And Numospect will be my experimental media company. So I want to be able to bring in things that I don't necessarily want under the Common Leaders heading, because for Common Leaders, I've set some really, and this is going to help define what it is, I've set some really strict boundaries on the types of companies and the types of business and the types of people that I want associated with it. And the explicit button on the podcast can never be hit under Common Leaders. Like, that's a big no for me. So I want to make sure that I also have some flexibility to play around with some other ideas. So Common Leaders, though, specifically is two things. It is intended to be a community. So I have a podcast, and I also have all the social media sites where I highlight leaders who are common, hence Common Leaders.
There you go.
And I only interview really a couple types of people on my podcast. I interview people who are maybe true experts in their field. So I talk to a fella that is working on his PhD in leadership. So I talk to him. And then I also talk to people who are nominated by other people to be highlighted by Common Leaders. So whether it's family, community, or business, I want to highlight people who just make the days better for others. Because as I mentioned before, one of my sort of driving factors was realizing that leadership development in the conversations that you learn while learning about leadership at a formal level are reserved for people who are in business and have been successful, like executives in big companies. And that's about it. Like that's the only people who get that type of love. And I think that's unfortunate. And I also think it's led to some of our social discourse issues where we can't have a debate and also be friends afterwards. And I believe that's really unfortunate. So those are some of the driving factors behind Common Leaders. But I also, like I said, I want to bring in people who are just making the days better. Mm-hmm. I want to teach people about leadership because I've been fortunate to learn a lot of formal leadership. And I want to bring that to people in a way that is digestible and also give them the opportunity to go deeper if they want to. Mostly in free formats, because I realize that the average person doesn't have a budget set aside for leadership development just for the heck of it. That's silly. And then the more revenue driven side of my business is related to coaching, both one-on-one and groups. As I mentioned, I've done leadership development at a consulting and at an organizational level before. So I offer that also. I really love to help hire. I've done a lot of hiring, and I really love the interview portion of it. And I've done quite a bit of career coaching. I found that career coaching is kind of a niche for me, typically with people who are pretty established and just looking to like get over the bump. I didn't really think that was going to be a thing for me, but that's where I keep finding that people are interested in working with me is when they've are X number of years into their career and don't know what's next. So I enjoy doing that. It's fun to poke around and probe around a little bit in that vicinity. So everything I have is Common Leaders. So if you are on social media, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, all the things under the sun, just type in Common Leaders, and that's how you'd be able to find it. I work with Buzzsprout is my podcast host. I think is yours too. And they are amazing. So anytime you are searching for Common Leaders in Google, it might take you to the Buzzsprout page first. But of course, you can listen to my podcast on any place that you listen to podcasts. And season 2 will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I'll be posting my first episodes for season 2 next week. And I have a very, very vigorous schedule. So that should be fun. And I also have some edgy content that I'm excited about.
All right. That's cool. So I'm assuming the name of your podcast is also Common Leaders.
Sure it is. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So anything that's mentioned here as far as links, anywhere to get a hold of Trevor, I will definitely have in the show notes. But into the show notes. Thank you very much, Trevor, for coming out.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a lot. I hope some of the Skoob believers out there learned a little bit too. And everybody stay tuned for the wrap up, okay? Trevor, thank you so much.
Thanks, Skoob believers. Thanks, Jesse.
All right. All right, Skoob believers, that was Trevor from Common Leaders LLC. Hey, I really had a great time doing that interview. It was awesome. Had a lot of great information in there, and just the conversation with Trevor was amazing. A couple things I really picked out in that interview, which I really like to cover. He has some amazing information about getting started and finding help for things that you're not really proficient at. Being able to hire somebody out to do the marketing for you, like Trevor was talking about, or if somebody could do like your social medias for you or something, whatever you're not good at, if you could find somebody to help you out, it'll make a really big difference in your company and what you're trying to accomplish if you get somebody to help you out at something you're not good at. So another thing I'm really glad we talked about boundaries. I haven't really talked too much about boundaries in my other shows, but boundaries are really important if you want to accomplish something. That way, if you're saying yes to something, you really need to know what that you're really actually saying no to, and if you're saying no to, what you're saying yes to, and that kind of thing. Plus, it helps with the balance of your family and your time with your company. Make sure you set really good boundaries for yourself and your company. That way, everything's running proficiently. And I had to keep the cat toy in there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry, but it was just way too funny. If you remember back on my episode 1 with Angela Caddy, her dog sneezed in the background there, and I had to keep that one. So apparently, if anything happens with animals, I'd like to keep it in my show. So that was Trevor, ladies and gentlemen. Now, just real quick here, right towards the end, I want to give you a couple updates on a few things. One of the things I want to talk about here is the project I have trying to put together the speaking engagement. I saw that there was a social gathering for the entrepreneurs in the local area from the Chamber of Commerce. Now, last time that happened, I got in too late and the tickets were all sold out. As soon as I saw that happening, I was able to buy a ticket right away and I got in. So there's a mistake before that I didn't make this time. And that's going to be happening here real soon. So we're going to see if we can talk to some entrepreneurs in the local area and have them help me out in putting the speaking engagement together. And the other thing I'd like to talk about here is back in episode 12, I announced that I was going to be learning a new language, that I left it up to you all to choose what language it was. And that was either Spanish, Russian, or Klingon. Well, the poll is in, and I'm going to be learning Spanish. And I'm really excited about that. I do have a little bit of experience in speaking Spanish. I did take a Spanish class in high school. Wasn't very good at it, but I think I could use that to help me along. So starting on my next episode 18, and at the end of every show for about 1 or 2 minutes, you're going to hear me actually do the learning of the Spanish. So we're looking forward to that. So at this point, if you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Twitter at DJ Skoob. That's SKOOB 2021. You could email me if you have any questions about my show, or if you'd like to talk about being on my show at uepodcast2021@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to leave a review for me on Apple or even in Spotify, I do read all my reviews, and if you do, I will definitely make mention of you on my next show. And so that's some great stuff happening, and we're going to see what's going to happen from here. Thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed talking to you. And on the next show, we're going to go ahead and learn some Spanish, and we're going to see what else is going to happen. So thank you so much, and you all have a great evening. Hello there, DJ Skoob here, and I just want to personally say thank you for listening to my program. I really hope you learned something. Tune in 2 weeks to listen to another brand new entrepreneur. And remember, I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today. As a worker of 2 full-time jobs, running a podcast and coaching, every minute counts in my day-to-day. It's hard to be consistent in any of my social medias. And at this point, I cannot hire a social media manager. Pinnacle AI to the rescue! I've been using Pinnacle AI for a couple of weeks now and seen big improvements in my outreach and consistency in all my social medias. Do you want to save time and increase your productivity too? Go to tuepodcast.net/AI for more information. Save yourself time and grow your brand. Try it now and see what it can do for you.
Hello, Skoob believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including Cridoceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, we won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction, fuel your empire, and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.